Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the Health, Wisdom, and Wealth Show. I'm Velyn Hawkins, your host, and I am excited today to bring you another powerful conversation. I'm always so excited to be in conversation with people who are just want you to be empowered and live your best life. And today we have MICHAEL DE HAAN, and we're going to explore the topic financial well-being, transforming negative mindsets and beliefs to live your best life. And I am so excited about this because that used to be something that was a huge challenge for me. And until certain things happened in my life, I had a really tepid relationship with money, and recognizing where all that came from, I was able to do the work necessary in order to shift some things, release some things, and embrace some things. And I know that our conversation today is going to be full of just MICHAEL's wisdom and nuggets and just what he has on his heart to share with us. MICHAEL DE HAAN, before we get into it, I want to tell you a little bit about him. We met not too long ago, and it was just a conversation that flowed like water immediately. MICHAEL is the founder of Care to Grow, and more recently, a co-founder of the Quantum Leap Global Australia firm. He's got a strong history in financial planning and building wealth through property. Focusing on clients, financial well-being, and transforming negative financial mindsets and beliefs to help people live their best lives, MICHAEL's vision is to empower people to create more joy, freedom, and growth through financial well-being. And MICHAEL's no stranger to overcoming the negative impact of financial stress himself. After living with the financial stress for over 25 years, experiencing anxiety, clinical depression, and cancer thriver here, people, which led to the breakdown of his first marriage, MICHAEL had a breakthrough. How many of us know that a breakdown often leads to that breakthrough? And with that, he realized that his limiting beliefs had caused constant stress and related issues in his life. And now he's become one of only a limited number of Australia's accredited certified money coaches to understand the impact of financial mindset on achieving financial well-being. We're going to explore financial well-being, and because he's a thought leader, educator, and mentor, I know that you will get so much out of this conversation that he's sharing his knowledge, wisdom, and just the things that he knows about unblocking limited financial beliefs. And with that, MICHAEL, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Velyn. And that was a great introduction. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And I think it is so important to know those little things about someone, you know, that we've had our own struggles and we've overcome. And that's part of what it is that we bring to those who we help, as well as what it is that's on our heart to do even more of, to make a greater positive impact in the world. And I know that is the case with you. I'm excited, and I'm not going to hold us. Let's get right into the conversation here. So tell us a little bit more about you and this journey to becoming the founder of Care to Grow. What got you on this path of financial wherewithal and well-being for others?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I just want to share with you that my background is money. I've been in money ever since I was 16. So I'm on the flip side of 50 now. So a lot of that time spent with money was around investing, making people more money. Yeah, so I was creating more wealth. In regard to my IP around money, I knew all the markets, I knew how to invest, I knew how to make clients rich. And I thought that I was doing a great job, and that is a purpose. But there's 95% of people that couldn't access my services. And they've got financial stress, and they've got issues within their life in regard to what's holding them back, the way they're brought up around money, and their sort of beliefs and their values around money. A lot of it being subconscious, which I'll talk about later. So what I found, as you spoke about before, thank you, is that I knew how to invest money, but I didn't know about the behavior around money. I didn't understand it. It was only about 4 or 5 years ago that I actually started to dig deeper in that sense, and because it was personal. Because I found myself getting sicker. I found myself, this long-term financial stress, my immune system was closing down. I was in flight or fight consistently, and it's not a good place to be, feeling. And I was trying to be healthy, a lot of exercise, eating well, but if my body's shutting down and it's got cortisol flowing through that, I was just getting sicker. My relationships have been affected. I was fatigued. I was tired all the time. And I looked at it, and I was looking externally for what to do, because that's the way I'd always looked at it. And I'd never looked internally and just started to work what's going on inside of me. I'm the only one that can help me to change and to sort of create this new life that I've done. But until I did that internal work, I was lost. I put on a good front. People didn't know the sort of dark places I was in. And I did that well, even to my family. But I was suffering. And what I found is I don't want people to go through what I went through. What I want to share with you is that in regard to the way I was brought up, a lot around scarcity, single mum, 4 children, and we had a lot of sort of not enough worthy issues, and I carried that through my life without knowing it. It sort of became a program of mine. So even though I knew about money, I had this subconscious beliefs and values around myself that I would self-sabotage. I'd make sure that I didn't go above my program. And I could see myself doing it, but I couldn't stop it. I didn't understand it. I thought they were good decisions, but if you're looking at the conscious mind, which is your rationale and your creative mind, that runs 5% of my life. The subconscious mind is my beliefs, how I was brought up, my education. That runs 95% of your life. So I was on autopilot, thinking that I was doing great, rational, creative decisions around money and creating this beautiful life for my family, but in actual sense, I was self-sabotaging it. And as a proud person and one that wants to provide and be proud of what I do, I was letting myself down. And that's what I don't want. I want people at a younger age there. So it took me to my mid-40s to work out. So I've carried this for a lot of years. And it's not a great place to be, where internally I had struggle. Internally I couldn't show up how I wanted to show up. And to help people understand, look internal and look at what's holding them back, what's their stories, what's their beliefs, what's their behaviors. That's my passion. That's my service to people, which if you get it right, your relationships are beautiful. You look in the mirror, you love yourself, and you can create the changes in this world because you're as one. You're aligned consciously, subconsciously, and you can make such a difference to the world. And I won't regret my past, but I will say that I've got a lot of catch-up work to do, because I want to create this amazing place in the world where people feel safe, people feel honoured, and they feel well in regard to their financial, in regard to their relationship with money.
That is awesome. I love that. And, there's so many of us who have our stories as the precursor to the, and I'll call it impactful, heart-centered work that we do. And I love that, because there's so many people all over the world who, may be thinking that they're doing really well in their life and their jobs, but much like you get to a point where you self-sabotage and you don't even realize it's happening. Um, how is it that you help people to understand that that in fact is what they're doing? What do you normally see when people come to you and you notice that that is something that they do?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because and what I find is because there's not an awareness. It's deep-seated, so subconscious is below consciousness. So, and because they're not aware of it, it's having those conversations with them. They'll talk about how they fight with their partner around money. That's a big one. So there's not that sort of trust, the values around money as a partnership in a relationship. That's a really big one. People say to me they're not confident with money. They don't understand money. They have a poor relationship with money. Money actually creates anxiety within me. And these are all such negative sort of emotions, really, that sort of, one, it pushes money away. Because why would money flow to you if you feel anxious about it, or if we have money coming into our relationship, we fight about it? So these are all things that are going to push money away and stop you from manifesting what you really want in your life, which is not money, it's really joy and happiness. But they're the ones that I see, as I said, a lot of the times there, and people have that sort of fear around it. And that's what we need to move beyond there, because working with people to understand where their stories come from. And I want to share with you that the work I do is that once we understand their emotions, their beliefs and behaviors around money, we drill down and actually find out where they came from. And they generally come from their mother and father, community, and there's generally a lot of scarcity. The biggest word I hear from most people is, I don't have enough. Yeah. It doesn't matter how much money they've got, they believe that they don't have enough. Yeah. But once we understand that it was generally their parents or community in regard to what they believed around money, that's the programming that you were sort of created from 0 to 7 when you're growing up, that's pretty empowering, because they actually go, well, that's not even my story. I now I've got an awareness. These are sort of things that I really want in life. How do I change? How do I move away from that sort of awareness to transformation? How do I really create that future that would inspire me? It lights me up. It brings me joy. And that's the work, that's inspiring work that we do with people.
Well, tell us a little bit about your journey to, creating two amazing companies, and one of them such an awesome team of coaches and mentors that are helping so many people in this space around money. Tell us about your journey to doing all of that.
'Cause I shared with you how I got sick and I was dealing with money for clients all the time there. So I knew there had to be a better way. I knew there had to be a way where I can be a service to all people, as opposed to people that had money. Because what I'm seeing is, as I said, people's relationship suffering. I know financial stress is the leading cause of anxiety, depression, and cancer. I've lived it. I've experienced it. So you get two choices in life, Eileen. You can actually go, well, that's what is, or you can say, I want to change that. And to be a service to all people, to allow them to have the safety and have the confidence to talk about their money, their relationship with money, which there's a lot of shame and embarrassment around that.
Also part of our conditioning, right?
Part of our conditioning. And we look at someone down the street there or our friends and go, look where they are in life. Why aren't we there? So there's a lot of that sort of ego, a lot of conditioning, and allowing people to say that this is quite normal. This is really a normal situation where people struggle with money, and digging a bit deeper and working through where that came from. So it's uplifting to see someone feel confidence around money, to feel in control of money, to understand some of those behaviors that don't serve them, some of those beliefs that are just a story, creating a new story there, and then how they're showing up in their life, which is the premise of what we do. The Quantum Leap Global I established, co-founded with my wife. So she's got the corporate background there, psychological background, and we've both got the same ethos, which is uniting human and business potential. We want people to shine. And how do you do that is looking at environments where there's financial stress, which is holding people back, looking at people bringing them whole selves to work, feeling financially safe, feeling heard, feeling included. So that's why we formed the Quantum Leap Global, and it's an honor to be a part of that business because, as I said, we can be of service to more people around the world. So it's a global brand, and we're really proud of the sort of difference that we can make for employees, for people, for leaders, for businesses to have a place of trust, have a place where people can show up with their best and feel safe.
That is awesome. And it's so needed, especially with where we are now, where we're finding that we're coming out of a situation that was created by something far greater than any of us, right? Yet collectively, we have all been impacted by it. And we're moving into, I still hear people talk about, I wish that things would go back to normal. And it's kind of like, wake up. There is no going back to normal. There's only going forward anyway, but forward to creating a new normal. And then the question becomes, what is that going to be for you? And that gets scary for people. It really does. And so how do you kind of bring someone into the realm of, let's not look at it as something to fear, but rather something to embrace and mold into what we want it to be?
And that's the unknown, as you talked about, and that is scary, walking into the unknown. But to create the life, this is the opportunity for people, and I'm seeing it globally around the world, where people are slowing down. They're becoming more centered. They're starting to look at what they really want in life. And that excites me, because people are tuning into their inner self. Everyone's got a light. Everyone was born to shine. So when the universe is slowing down, which I'm seeing people coming up with inspiration. They're coming up with the ideas that never flowed because we're all busy. We're all running around. A year went past, and what happened that year? So with this sort of slowing down, we are seeing people have more of an awareness. Awareness is so powerful. Awareness of what's going on there, awareness of maybe what triggers you, what brings you back to the old story. And this is about going forward, Billy, and a lot of the self-talk that we do. So we look at our thoughts create sort of our emotions create how we act, and that's how we're showing up. So let's look back and go, well, what are our thoughts? Where do they come from? Let's change those thoughts. Let's start thinking in a new way. Let's change that inner dialogue that we've got within ourselves, work out where it came from, honor that, and then just say, here's what it looks like moving forward. Here's my new program. If you can work on that, everything will come to you. But you've got to have that alignment between your conscious and subconscious. And what I take clients on a lot of times is that a lot of people are just working for the future. There's not that sort of stillness and gratitude. And when people can actually be grateful for what they've got, really again honor that, and then look at where they're heading with such a gratitude and thankfulness, things will start showing up. And this is where you create change. It's more safe because you're not always looking external. You're not always looking at what people are doing down the street there. You're actually saying, I'm good. I'm worthy. I've got a great life. And being able to honor that and just say, here's what I want the future to be like from a really grounded position. I'm talking to, I do a lot with our women, and I'm talking to some amazing women that are sort of changing their career path, changing their the way that they have relationships with their partner, having more honest conversations and speaking up, sharing their voice and being more visible, which is, again, really exciting.
I'm so glad you brought that in, the idea of putting yourself out there. To be heard means that you have to put yourself out there and share. Let your mind be known, let your heart be known. And there's a certain level of vulnerability in there. You spoke about creating a safe place. And I think that when we, women and men, allow ourselves to be vulnerable, and I think it does have to happen in a safe place. If we know that there's judgment and criticism and all of the things coming back at us, we are apt to not say anything.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
does one create that safe space, especially when it's a partner situation and they want to share, they want to be vulnerable, yet they know their partner has certain judgments about certain things?
Yeah. And that's a really, really important conversation. It's terribly important. One, partners generally don't have it. So everyone's got a different story, everyone's got different values, everyone's got a different risk profile, and they don't feel honoured, but they don't speak up. So you might have someone that goes off spending money and living in the moment when someone else has a fear around that, where they want to sort of set themselves up for security, have a sort of a bucket for if something happens, rainy day, or start planning for the future where, and again, this is sort of that financial intimacy when you're starting that relationship. It's just so important to have those conversations. And when you're sort of aligned there and you're really, I suppose, looking at the best way to have this relationship, it's all new to people, having a money conversation at that point and taking it a bit away from money. So I use this, what I call the 5 L's with my clients, and generally with the financial planning, which is my background, it was all around, you want to retire on $70,000, you need $3 million in assets, and it was just all very numbers driven. But sitting down with partners and just going, well, let's shut our eyes, let's take a breath, let's look, say, in 10 years' time, using the 5 L's. So if I said to you, Lynn, where do you want to live? Talk to me about that. Is it that salt air coming on you, the sun coming in your backyard, you've got your grandchildren or your children playing around? Tell us about the emotional side of that. What do you love doing? What really brings you joy? Start picturing that. What do you want to be learning? Is it personal development, business development? What makes you laugh? And then one of the ones that I'm big on is a legacy, which is the last one. So what do you want people to talk about you? A legacy also is potentially leave money, but a legacy to me is that I want to be known for something, and it's around financial wellness around the world. It's around creating safe environments for people to feel safe, united in relationships and sort of work towards well-being as opposed to this stress that we're seeing. So if you're sitting down with couples, it's not about money. There's nothing about money there. And we worked through, I did the exercise with my wife, and we changed some of the things that we were doing in our life once we aligned what our 5 L's were.
I love that. I love that. So what are the 5 L's again?
So it's live, love, learn, laugh, legacy.
That's beautiful. That is a great formula for aligning hearts.
Exactly.
Whether you're single or in a relationship, I think that's a great place for alignment.
And I was working with a couple, and I was working with the woman, and she said, my husband has got a totally different risk profile. He doesn't want me to invest. He doesn't want this, doesn't want that. And I said, why don't we sit down and work out those 5 L's? Let's take away from her money, because they've had different money experiences. So there's that anxiety that comes up. And when they sat down and talked about that, they're a little bit older, and they said, we want to have somewhere on the water there. They pictured that backyard with the swings and the grandchildren playing around. And there was this alignment which took them away from, you've invested before, you've made some mistakes, whatever. There's that sheer anxiety that they didn't bring it up. It was just too hard a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it can be, those belief systems run deep, and you mentioned it before, they are sometimes so deeply masked that it really takes work to get to them. And I think that those beliefs are things that can be derailed and easily when we've decided we've had enough of them. So, Michael, tell us what you've found are like the top 3 beliefs that you and your team help people to derail and diminish in their lives, and release, that they
Yeah.
no longer have to deal with them.
And there's a few big ones that I see that crop up almost every time there. One is secretive around money. So you sort of hide money away. Okay. And that goes back to your money story, how you were brought up there. And that's a big burden to hold in your body. You're doing it for what makes sense to you in regard to a past story. But that burden of continually hiding it and feeling, I suppose, not aligned in regard to that intimacy in that relationship. That's a big one. Non-confrontational. So like you want to keep the peace. So you don't tell your truths. So when you don't tell your truths, when you hold back, and it goes with repressed feelings and beliefs, they're both similar. You don't talk about your values. You don't sort of say, this is important to me, that you're not heard. So that comes up a fair bit there. And that anxiety, anxiety comes up in 95% of clients that I work with. They've got this knot. There's this anxiousness. And if it's happening to 95% of the clients that I see, that's what I believe is happening out in the community. And people have got that, and you can either accept that. A lot of people go, well, I've got anxiety. I don't have a great relationship with money. That's what it is. Or you can change that, and we can work through, where's that anxiety? What triggers it? Where's that coming from? Let's put a story to it. Let's work out whether the story's real or it's just something, a part of a programming, how you're brought up. Let's look at, are you safe? And then honoring that and saying, well, how do we move forward? And it's really about, there's no blame in this, because you can look back, and a lot of times your upbringing wasn't the best, but honoring that your parents did the best with what they had. And you're doing that as maybe a parent, or you're doing that in your life as well. Honoring that and just saying, well, here's the changes that I want to take there, because I don't want to feel anxious. I don't want to be secret. I don't want to sort of repress my feelings and beliefs. I want to be able to feel valued and feel safe enough to express my feelings and what's going on in my life. And that awareness is the lead to transformation. And that's where you see people telling their truth, having deeper conversations, feeling valued, excited. They're lit up. They're where they should be.
I agree. That's tremendous, because you know that you are living your best life when you have that freedom.
Yes.
And you can be vulnerable, you can be happy, you can be, and it's to your point too, it's about you and how you feel. It's not about money and how you think money can make you feel, right?
That's exactly right. And I money's energy. And if you're under that, we do a lot of work around gratitude around money.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people, they have money coming in, money coming out. They don't know how it flows. They again creates that sort of anxiety. They don't particularly like it. They don't look at their statements. They don't look at money in, money out there. So we actually sit down and we give gratitude for money flowing into them, gratitude when money goes out. Again, it sets up a different relationship with money. They're actually more at peace with it. They actually feel as if their relationships improved. It's just such a difference with people's sort of mindset around money, and sort of changing that, just saying, that was what I thought about money. I can have a great relationship with money. I can see it flow. I can see it building this life that I've always wanted, a life built around joy. I can see how I can have that different relationship to serve me, and for me then to be a service to other people.
Absolutely. Um, we kind of touched on financial stress and the negative impact of financial stress. And I think that many of us have or are currently experiencing some degree of financial stress. Um, Knowing that number one, it's a mindset when you know that, being grateful for whatever the situation is really kind of puts stress at bay. But what are a couple of ways that you coach people to address and reduce financial stress?
And it's really for them to understand where that's coming from, and that's really looking internally, and that's so much power. Again, I use awareness a lot there, but if someone's financially stressed, sometimes they're not even in a financial situation where they should be stressed. I was one of them. It was just around my mind. It was my subconscious. It was flowing through my body. I would get statements and I would put them in the drawer. I'd get bills and put them in the drawer. I just didn't want to look at them. If I pretended they weren't there, they weren't there. But there's nothing, I could pay them. So it's really going back to the financial stress. Where's the trigger? Where do you feel it in the body? Let's look back at where that came from. Is it real? And you know what? When you actually sit down with someone and saying that all we need to do is look at one or two different shifts, look how money flows for you, look at your behaviors around money, let's build your confidence around money, and you don't have to do a lot. It's just that they never had the awareness. There's not enough sort of education around behavioral money coaching as opposed to financial planning, which is all money driven. There's not enough around teaching people to have the confidence around money, the flow of money, and how they can actually appreciate that more than what they do at the moment. So that's just a big difference, and it shifts there that all people can do. Everyone can change their relationship with money, and hence reduce significantly that financial stress.
And I know that a lot of times people experiencing financial stress will compensate by overeating and or just eating the wrong things at the wrong time. Um, but I really think that there are a lot of parallels and connections with money, how we view money, our relationship with money, at the same way that we do food, how we look at food, how we buy food, how our relationship with food, the whole gratitude aspect around money, around food. And I bring that in because you know that one of the undergirding premises of the Health, Wisdom, and Wealth show is really about overall wellness. And part of that is about what we eat. And you look like a really healthy guy, and our conversations on the show dive into the subject of using food as medicine. Money and wealth are something that can be severely impacted when our health is affected. And if we're eating the wrong things that impacts our health, it kind of doesn't matter whether we have money or not, because it's going to take money in a lot
Yeah.
of instances to help fix whatever our health issues are. So, is there anything that you do daily that you recommend or would recommend to our audience that, can help them to begin and maintain a healthy, vibrant life along with this healthy, vibrant flow of money?
And yeah, that's a good question. I do some practices in the morning, and it's, again, I'm going to show a bit of vulnerability here that growing up, I didn't feel worthy, but I didn't know that. And it's just so important when you talk about overall health to be able to look in the mirror and say, I'm worthy. That flows through money, it flows through relationships, it flows through health, it flows through what you're eating, what you're putting into your body. And having that conversation around, a lot of people I speak with have lost what brings them joy. So saying that I'm worthy, saying to yourself that I love you, and just saying that, what does bring me joy? What does that look like? I tap on that daily. I remind myself, I remind my body daily that I'm worthy, that there's an abundance of love, there's an abundance of wealth. I tap daily around money flows freely to me, because I believe that it's not this hard work or this, trying to do things there that you will make you unpopular because you're trying to make all this money. It's just, money's in abundance if you allow it to flow through to you. And if people will look at me, and because I'm creating more wealth, and look at me and have either an issue with that, that's I'm fine with that. I've got a bigger purpose, and that sort of drives my purpose. So I do that, and I as go for runs and do exercise. I set up the day. I like getting up early. I like getting up before it's light. I think that's a beautiful time of day. We try and get down the beach for the sunrise. It's having sort of peace, and just reminding myself daily that I'm worthy, that I'm loved. That starts a day there, that I can be the best that I can be for myself, my family, and the people I serve.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I think that that is the type of practice that we all should be doing. It's time to really look in the mirror and see me and love the me that I see. And if there are things that I want to change, decide and do, and ask if you need help. One of the big things that I was talking to somebody about the other day was their biggest challenge was they didn't want to ask for help.
Yeah.
They didn't want to ask for information. And, we have to step outside of the protective shell, if that's what you could call it, and allow ourselves to be vulnerable. And I think it's really key too, what you just said about if someone else isn't, on the same wavelength, if they're not there, if, they don't even approve, that is their thing.
Exactly.
And I can still look to me and be happy with me. And, Mike, as we close our conversation today, I want to ask you, is there any additional wisdom, point of wisdom, flow of wisdom that you believe is important to share, and that will make a positive impact on our audience?
It's not something different, but it's something I brought up before. Again, those 5 L's. It is transformational. It's the financial planning industry works with money, and doesn't do enough work around, again, that honest about what brings you joy, how to have better relationships with your partner. That's the most important thing. I'm disrupting the financial planning industry, where I'm going that I'll only work with financial planning businesses that do offer the 5 L's as a part of their core culture, their core beliefs. There's not many. So that's important to me because we need to work together. The behavioural side and the investing side through the planning industry need to work together for clients. I get that. But they've got to have the same philosophy. Very much around the client, what's going to bring them joy. So, and it just changes your mindset. It really does paint that picture. I've done it. I've had clients that have done it, and there's just so much light in doing that. It's an experience there that will give you a buzz, will bring you some joy, and it'll you look at it differently and going, I've been going down this pathway of having to accumulate, having to, have more of whatever, and then taking the time to go, is that really what we are after? Yeah.
And you want to run through those 5 L's one more time?
Oh, by all means, I say them in my sleep. So it's really where you want to live. What does love look like? What do you want to be learning? What's your laugh? What really makes you happy? And your legacy. What do you want people to talk about you?
That's beautiful. And what a great note to end our show on. Michael, thank you so much. This was so great. And to our audience, as we wrap up, you're going to find Michael's information at the bottom of this video, and do reach out. A lot of times we don't do these exercises for ourselves because we need some guidance. We need some help. We need somebody to ask the questions to help bring those ideas and thoughts and heart's desires out of us. And Michael is here to do that with you. So do reach out. And as we are moving on, you'll be able to find this video on our YouTube channel. So make sure you go to YouTube and find us and subscribe so that you can get notifications of future shows. And if you're a health, wisdom, or wealth practitioner, and you'd like to share your knowledge and expertise with our audience to be in the conversation, reach out to me, PM me, message me on Facebook, LinkedIn, email me at vlyn@p3academy.com, and let's connect. And so this is it, Michael. Any last words?
I want to say, I just love what you're doing. Health, wisdom, and wealth, they're so together, they're so collaborative that you need all three. You can't work one. You had a better relationship with money and you're not looking after your health. So I love that you're uniting that. It means a lot to me, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. But again, I'm a big believer in just working on all those three. So keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. We've got some exciting things coming up in future episodes. So stay tuned, turn your notifications on to be a part of it all. Make sure that you find us in our Facebook page on occasion, and stay tuned. And do us the favor and share. Help us to get the message out, because we are healthpreneurs uniting to help you, to help our families and families of families, and so on. So with that, thanks again. Until next time, be well, live, love, and be a bigger positive impact maker in your world. Bye for now.